In this channeled message, the angels are calling us and they're saying that we've got more to heal. So great to see you guys again. For those of you who are new to my channel, I am Ann Tucker and I am a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm. And in this message, the angels are talking about our healing process. And they're saying that the opportunity to heal through our karma, which all of us wish we didn't have karma, but our karma actually helps us a ton. It's a fabulous way for us to actually confront the energies that we would rather not have and to clear those energies. And they're saying the opportunity to do that isn't going to be around here forever. And they're really trying to encourage us to go through our healing. And they talk about their perspective of what our healing process looks like. So if you've had healing, if you are a healer, you're going to resonate with a lot of this message, but it really is cool to hear it from their perspective. So I hope you enjoy the message. So I know I mentioned I was going to tell you guys about this. You guys know the Golden Circle is my program of private sessions that I do one-on-one with people. And it's a 6-month program and a really special container that's held by the angels and it's fascinating. I didn't actually understand. They never tell me things up front. Like I just show up and then like stuff happens. And then I find out later, like what it's all going to be, which I think is part of me developing my own ability to trust and allow, right? It's like everything is for us, everything, including the fact that they don't fill me in. So anyways, it wasn't until we went to our retreat, the Golden Circle, we went through our 6 months of sessions, and we have monthly, we have group sessions and private sessions and tons of work, like crazy stuff has been happening. We go to the final retreat, and then the angels laid out this, like in one of the sessions, they started talking about why this group was in the circle, like what the purpose was of this particular group and what was happening in the circle. And what they said is that the people who were in it, like if you can picture them like if you know what a Venn diagram is, it's like different circles that overlap, and they overlap in certain places. So some things you might have 3 circles overlapping, some might have 2 circles overlapping, depending on how the circles are layered. They said that everybody who was in the Golden Circle had certain things that they were working on that overlapped. So there were ways in which they were connected to each other. And that because of this container, what was happening is that if 3 people shared the same issue, if one person pushed ahead and made progress, it drew the other 2 along with them, right? Totally mind-blowing. So they said this was how they were able to make such fast progress, is because of this unique container that helped them to push each other forward, and they had these overlaps. So then what was amazing, so first they're explaining this. I'm like, oh, that makes great sense. I totally get that. And that's awesome. So then I brought some angel cards along just for fun, and everybody picked a card. And each time, and the angels told me, have them put the card back in the deck. So everybody picks a card and then they put it back in the deck. Incredible. Of the people that were there, everybody picked the same cards. Like literally 3 people picked one card and the other people picked the other card. It was a perfect illustration of the fact that they were all working on the same issues. Totally mind-blowing. And the odds of that, I looked it up later. What are the odds of if you put the card back in the deck and shuffle a bunch and then try to draw the same card, the odds of picking the same card 3 times in a row from a deck is something like 0.0015 or something like that. It was like ridiculously, it's like winning the lottery, basically, like almost like zero odds. So it was amazing. Anyways, but it was super cool for them to do that right on the heels of explaining how this worked and then to show us how people were sharing these same issues. So anyways, but long story short, the Golden Circle is now ending and we're getting ready to start again, but 100% of the people who were in the Golden Circle have renewed, which is amazing and fantastic. And I'm so excited. But I also know that there are several people that are in our community that have been waiting to join the Golden Circle. So I didn't want to have them waiting with no option, with nothing that they could do to then move forward. So I decided to work with the angels to come up with something new for anybody who would be potentially interested in the Golden Circle, or if this just sounds fun to you. And they created it, I channeled it, and they told me what it was, and it's called peace bathing. And the idea is that I noticed that in every single one of our sessions, the way the angels work is they bring everybody up to a place they call peace. It's like a frequency, and it's like a destination. And it is the frequency of peace. And this is the place where they do their work with us. This is where they do their healing. And so what they want to offer is a monthly opportunity for people to raise up into the vibration of peace. And for people who are interested in moving out of the golden circle, right, it gives them the opportunity to get used to that frequency and start working within that frequency. But for anybody who is interested, the idea is one of, you know how like you go through your life and things are stressful and you get distracted by life, and it's like we're a rubber band that just gets stretched tighter and tighter and tighter. And then we have less resiliency. So when things happen in our life, we're not really able to show up and respond as our highest self. So the idea of peace bathing is that they take you up, and it's going to be a very gentle thing, just very, and the whole thing is just to kind of release all the sludge from our field, just clear and clean. And it's like the things that you would want to do in meditation but are really hard to do on our own. The angels will do it for you. Yeah, and Rebecca's saying peace bathing, amazing, right? Such a cool concept. So anyway, so so that is going to be starting later this month, July. It's going to be on Sunday, start coming up on Sundays, July. I have the date. I'll post it, and I have the link for you. It's going to be on my website. It's anntucker.com/peace-bathing, peace bathing. And so it's up now. You guys can join in. And I'm pricing it reasonably. I want to make sure that anybody who wants to participate can participate. So it's going to be super cool. So here is the message. They say, we can start with how you're progressing through life, how you are attaining your circumstances of reflection. This hard-won belonging which you attained in this life did not come easily. You were entrenched with the divergent family of your choosing, and lived asunder, separated from ourselves in all meaningful manner. You could not deploy our wished embrace, could not feel our closeness standing by. You were vacuous in your state, empty inside, not whole, not upcoming, bereft of all you left behind. But we were there in each and every opportunity. You know how we are there now, as always. So here they're really talking about when we arrive here on the planet. You guys know we choose our family, our family that we're going to be born into, and we choose them on purpose and to trigger us, right? To create the circumstances that are then we're going to have to heal the rest of our lives. It's like, gosh, why did I do that? But it's really for our own good, because we had those energies before we got here, right? We have whatever it is we're trying to clear in our lifetime. We had those energies before we got here. And the whole kind of point of being here is we're trying to clear those energies as we go. We're trying to release them, but we have to reestablish the energies when we get here. So we pick a family or a circumstance that's going to bring up those feelings so that we can reawaken those specific vibrations that we want to clear in this lifetime. So it's all very purposeful, but that's what they're talking about, that we get here, we kind of forget all of the wisdom that we had before, we forget all the knowing of who we are and what we're all about. We're really empty. We feel very separated from source, and we have this family that is not who we are, right? That we're just not, that it's hard, the family. And no matter what your circle, you may feel like you had the most amazing mother and father. And even so, there will have been things that you picked up that brought the vibrations that you needed, the frequencies that you needed to clear, that brought them forward. So we all have wounding. Your mother could have been like the Mother Teresa of mothers, and you will still have issues no matter how hard she tried. So it's not a slam against parents at all. And lots of you are parents, and like you try so hard, but there's nothing like it's, if you don't wound your child, you're doing them a disservice. How about that? We have to wound our children. It's for their best good. Not saying that we should be bad parents, but you know what I mean. You get my point. All right. So they go on to say, we begin the same in each incarnation upon the planet. We begin with separation and wish only to repair that connection to ourselves and above, which takes time. The immersion of your spirit is essential and apparent upon your being born. It's essential for your development to feel ourselves separated, uniformly isolated as you were, with family beings not in alignment in all ways, planted and chosen for your own benefit, how they are designed to create the frictions you do need to evolve and desire to release. They go on to say, we say, you are mid-heaven. You are far from beginning this journey, but are somewhere in between ourselves at full measure and yourself in full isolation. So they're saying in terms of where we are in our progress, we're kind of between, right? We're between being fully ourselves where they are and being totally isolated like we were in childhood. So we've made progress, but we're kind of midheaven is how they're describing it. You are in between and observe us not in daily practice. You are, however, rising each day. We see it now, each and every moment called forward. You are all welcome with gratitude and appreciation, but you are climbing, ascending of your own will. Take heart, we hear you now. You are higher still than you know now. You are rising with greater forces than before. You are becoming more integrated to perform more delightedly your own being. So I think here when they're saying that we're higher now than we realize, I think they're talking about the fact that there's been all these energies on the planet that have been helping us recently, that there's been a lot. If you just look at the agitation of the world in general, just look at the crazy weather and the crazy politics and the crazy, and there's a lot of movement in the energy right now. And that, as much as that applies to the world, that applies to us too. And it's very hard to make progress when things are really settled. Like think about like if you're trying to dig into the earth in a place where the earth is like super compacted, like where things have just settled, right? Like where they've been that way undisturbed for a really, really long time. And I think that if you leave soil for a super long time undisturbed, I think it might even become rock. So think about that when things get really compressed, really settled, it's really hard to make progress. But when you stir things up, when you dig it up, when you start to, when you want to plant a plant and you want it to be able to grow its roots into the ground, you have to really stir up the dirt and make space for the roots to get in there. And it's the same thing with life, that with the energies on the planet, that if we have a lot of motion going on, a lot of change, a lot of craziness going on in the world, though that is a kind of energy that's coming in that's making it easier for us to make progress too. So they're affirming that here. They're saying that we are making more progress than we realize right now because we have all this energy on our side. There's things coming up faster, that our energy is moving faster, and this creates opportunity for us to make progress faster. So, all right, they're saying, however, we do perceive the drawing close of opportunity soon for ascension through this kind of turmoil, transparent and internal. And that's a big sentence right there. So they're saying they're perceiving the drawing close of opportunity for ascension through this kind of turmoil, transparent and internal. So I have to stop after that sentence because they have said in past channelings that our experience of karma is going to change with this ascension, with the things that are happening to humanity, that we won't be having a karmic experience any longer. And I think that's what they're talking about here. And they're saying that the drawing close of opportunity, that the opportunity to grow in this way might be going away. The opportunity to grow through the karmic experience. And it is an opportunity. Like we all complain about our karma. Like you think, oh my gosh, I don't want to have another karmic relationship or another karmic whatever. Like, please, no, because they're so hard, right? But they're saying that like that is one of like it is a surefire like way to get us to grow. Karma is like it's right there. It's in your face. It's hard. We have to work through it. It helps us through. And they're saying that opportunity to grow through that kind of what they're saying here, turmoil, transparent and internal, that it's just like, wow, really hard for the emotions. That opportunity may be going away soon. They don't say now when, they don't say when, but they're saying that experience of being able to grow through our karma might be ending soon. They go on to say, this is the release of the indignity of your own wishes to create harm against the self. So they're calling it an indignity because they see us as such divine beings. They see us as divine beings. So they're saying that it's getting rid of the wish to create harm against the self. You now wish to limit, protract, deem unworthy, judge, and recall the efforts of your own self. You do have in mind the perspective of one who was lost to us forever, not found. And we create within the self the knowledge of this gap held asunder by yourselves. So, and this is part of, now they're going into how growth happens. And Linda, you're saying glad to be here. Hey, Linda, great to see you. You're also saying the raw material talks about the harvest and the end of the third density as some shift with the planet into fourth density. Yes, I think that's exactly what they're talking about here. And they have said, by the way, that there will be the opportunity for those people who are not done yet with karma, who really feel like they have more to learn from karma and they want to continue on that path. They will make a space for them, but it won't be here. It won't be on Earth, but they will be a place for people who want to continue with that method of learning. But that's a whole nother message that they gave several months ago. That's in the playlist. If you're on YouTube, it's on the playlist under channeled messages. All right. So then they go on to say, and here, like I said, they're talking a little bit more about our process of healing, which I think is, like I said, interesting to hear it from their perspective. They say belonging to us does require the upliftment of these condemnations. So in other words, we can't be thinking of ourselves in this way, or if we want to be back up among the angels. They're saying the release of forces you employ to limit your own self-understanding. It does require that you are in dignity of his own grace, that you see yourself as you are, one with himself, that you rise in your own estimation to be where we are and how we perceive you now. How hard is this for you now? How difficult to belong to your own mind, to forgive the self, to allow its greatness to proceed from your own heart. The recognition of the separation you suffered does hold in place the wounding that does barricade your way forward. So it's that feeling of separation that keeps us from moving forward. The time has come to begin moving away. Those thoughts of childhood separation, of willingness to believe yourself to be limited. As you are perceiving, believing more is possible. They go on to say, not in the method of disowning the self and disavowing those instruments internal that tell you otherwise. So they're saying they're not telling us to overlook the when we have friction in our life, when we have aspects about ourselves that we would rather not face, right? They're saying that those hard things, those hurts and those wounds and those places where we feel not good enough, they're saying they're not telling us to just ignore them. They're saying that don't disavow those instruments internal that tell you otherwise, that tell you that you're not divine. Don't ignore them. They're saying, but in bringing them forward and anon, letting them breathe the air of your own truth of being, letting yourself perceive the facility or the fallacy of your own self-limitation. Acknowledge and honor the experience therein. Let it reveal its presence and position within your being. Let it breathe its air like one within the self who does bear resemblance to your own being. So this is important in terms of what I'm saying, in terms of them talking about our process of healing, is that every time I do healing with the angels, they treat the different attitudes we have about the self, or the wounding that we have about ourselves, or the memories, or the things that are hard. They treat them like mini-me's. They treat them like people, like actual people inside yourself. And I think it's because of how time works, and because like every moment is now, that person who had that experience, and that moment is like a person. It's just as real as you are right in this moment. The person who had that experience that's now that you're holding on to is also real. And so they treat every little wound, every one of these things we have to clear, they treat them all like people within the self. Like you are the self, the big self, but then within you are all these components, all these aspects of self. And they treat them, well, they're saying they're saying that the idea is to let each of those, rather than repressing them or avoiding them, because they aren't fun to feel, they aren't good to face, they do conflict with our vision of ourselves as being, one with source. They conflict with our desire to raise up. So we really don't enjoy bringing them up. And it feels scary sometimes when those emotions come up. It feels like they're going to take you over and you won't be able to control them. But they're saying that they need to come up and breathe the air. They need to come to surface and come up and come out, is the idea, is that through the expression of these emotions, that are these selves within the self, they're able to rise up and be released and be cleared. So they go on to say, the self in small nature, in momentary, frozen isolation of experienced self-denigration. So that's exactly what I was talking about. The self in small nature, it's like these small aspects of self in momentary frozen isolation of experienced self-denigration. So those little places where we felt really bad. We felt really bad about ourselves. And that's like, it just freezes up inside ourselves. And then that's like a self inside us that is living that reality all the time. And that person has to come up and out. So, and Brenda is saying, working with those aspects of yourself is so healing. Love doing that for myself and clients. The angels have been having me do that for quite a while. Love this. Yeah, that's exact. And that this is the process of healing, right? And this is, but I love their perspective on it. I think it adds clarity for us. These frozen aspects ignite, mummify their direction, kindred, becoming. They rise within and show themselves to be honored with your dignity and grace, to be let go, released, allowed to return to source. Each small death celebrated as it was revealed, each one held in gratitude for the learning it contained. For why are we here but to reveal these hidden selves? Open the self to more appreciation of what you are on all levels. And this, I think, is really getting to how we can experience these aspects of ourselves as they're rising up. That these small selves that they're calling about, these frozen in these moments, these really hard moments, right? And that moment may be a longer period, maybe 6 months of something you went through that was incredibly hard, right? And that's frozen in there. And they're saying that each one as it rises, they want us to honor each one, to see it not as something like that that part of me, I don't like that part of me. Instead, it's like, no, honor it and cherish it and raise it up and really see it as, like they say, like, bring it dignity and bring it grace and appreciation for what the learning is within. So it's really like it's like a death. So think about, how do you honor someone in their passage to the other side? What do you do in a funeral or in a celebration of life as someone is ending their life? And that's really what the healing process should feel like, is like a celebration, an honoring of the death of this energy, of the passing of this energy. So each one is like a small death to be honored. And you're saying this perspective of the wounded selves is a huge aspect in modern trauma resolution. I too have walked clients through the process of healing and integrating these selves. It works great. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's powerful. It's powerful work. All right. So they go on to say, transient energy does combine to reveal consternation within the self, but these attitudes are far from who you are to be. They are merely passing notes in your song. Let them free. Do not tie your identity within these hurts and longings, for they are powerful enough to derange your view of self, to influence your mind to be captured in rapture by their pull into defiance of your own greatness. Do not allow this. Hear not their self-defeating charge against the self. So they're saying that we can that we can learn to identify with our wounding, that we can take on, and sometimes it's because of the stories we tell ourselves, right? Sometimes it's because those aspects, like it, sometimes we're so busy making the other person wrong that we get locked into that space of being the victim, and that becomes part of our identity, that in order for the other person to be wrong, we have to be really, really wounded. And that's a kind of way of identifying and making that part of our identity. And they're saying when we do that we say, do not tie your identity within these hurts and longings, for they are powerful enough to derange your view of self, to completely make you forget that you are an aspect of source and that you are a divine being, right? You can't be a divine being and also be wounded, right? You can't be both things, because a divine being is all powerful, right? Is just like source. So they're saying that tying your identity into it can be limiting, right? It's really limiting. They're saying so. They're powerful enough to derange your view of yourself, to make you forget to forget who you are, to influence your mind to be captured in the rapture by their pull into defiance of your own greatness. So it's like a rapture where it's like we then defy who it is that we really are. So they said, don't allow this. Hear not their self-defeating charge against the self. And you're saying, this is very good aha moment for me as I'm listening. I'm seeing where I need to start seeking and working on personally, been stuck in a rut. Oh, I'm so glad. I mean, not about the being stuck in a rut, but I'm so glad you're seeing the aha moment. That's awesome. Rebecca's saying, I have to listen to that passage again, identify with our wounding, cognitive dissonance. Yeah, for sure. All right, so they go on to say, there's a lot here, like I said. They go on to, they had a lot to say. They go on to say, let them rise, talking about these aspects of self. Let them rise, acknowledge, understand, sympathize, as you would a child of mine. Let them be seen and heard. Let them breathe the air. Judge them not. Perceive them as they are, the constructs created, adaptations met by the self to consecrate the difficulties of lives you led. They are reactions, that is all. Frozen moments of misunderstanding which cement and become loaded with meaning beyond the original intent. So really, this is about where we are in judgment of ourselves, where we are in judgment of these aspects. And we have all done this, right? There are places of ourself. And think about this. One of the great ways to find the parts of yourself that you don't like is look at the people that bug you and that trigger you. And notice, what is it about them that you really dislike? Like, what is it like, oh, that person just drives me nuts? And where is that within yourself? Because the thing that's bugging you about it is you're feeling a harmonic frequency that's resonating between you and that person. Because there's a lot of things people do in the world that don't bother you, right? But there's going to be those things that really get to you. And that's because that aspect is in you. And when you're judging that person, saying, oh man, that person is such a blank blank, that's what you're saying to that inner part of yourself, right? You're saying, man, I really don't like this part of myself. And that's pushing it down. Rather than pushing it down, they're saying, let them rise, right? Acknowledge, understand, and sympathize like you would a child, right? Like you would your own child. And to say, hey, they understand that these constructs that they created, that these ways of being were in reaction to something that you were going through in this life or in a past life, right? That they were merely like ways of preserving yourself. Right? And we all do it because we all have to go through hard times, and wounding hurts. And sometimes it's physical wounding, right? That hurts, emotional wounding. And we create these constructs. They said adaptations met by the self to consecrate the difficulties of lives you led. They are reactions. That is all. So look at them as just a reaction. Frozen moments of misunderstanding which cement and become loaded with meaning beyond the original intent. So this is what we're trying to raise up and let go. They take on flavors and aspects and personality to which you then become attached as identity and understanding of self. And we say you are not this. You are greater than and will be revealed as such. But now your dignity lies in your own responsibility, your own hands. Empower such revealing, such willingness to delve deep into the self and allow that you contain these imperfections of being. So admit, yeah, I've got this stuff. I've got this baggage. I've got this junk, right? I see every time you run into someone that bugs you, I've got that, man. I'm bummed that I am really triggered because that means I have that. And that's where we need to see it and not judge ourselves and recognize, man, that was just me responding to something really hard in my life. So empower such revealing, such willingness to delve deep into the self and allow that you contain these imperfections of being and allow them to rise without fear of self-judgment. Because why are we holding them down? We don't want to feel us judging ourselves. Allow them to rise without fear of self-judgment. Let them rise, and they will do. The time is come now. You are to be freed. Let them rise, we say. We love you now and forever. Healing be done. All right. You're saying, where is it? I love the merely passing notes in your song. Allow the dissonant notes and avoid getting stuck in your broken record trauma. So well said. Yeah. And Rebecca's saying, maybe we need to incorporate more mirror time so we can get through this process. Great idea. Yeah, Rebecca was at our Wisdom Soup meetup last night. We learned mirroring, which is a channeling process. It could definitely work for that. So if you could put somebody that triggers you into the mirror and look at them and work through your own, like not judging them and forgiving them for who they are, and in process forgive yourself. There is a gazillion ways, a gazillion methods of healing. And there's so many good ones. There's new modalities coming to the planet all the time. So it's a process of trying things, right? I mean, like you do need to use your own discernment. So important to listen to your heart and feel who you're called to do healing. But there are so many healers in this group, right? So many of you are professional healers. And you can do self-healing. Self-healing there's lots of methods for self-healing as well. So anyways, but I love this message from the angels. I think it does add insight and clarity, and it's a fantastic reminder to ourselves. And I do think there's a little bit of urgency there where they're saying, hey, this opportunity to grow in this way is not going to be here forever, right? It's not going to be here always. And whatever baggage we don't clear in this lifetime, when we die, we take it with us. That's the only thing we actually get to take, right? When all the stuff you accumulate in your life, that all stays, just the muck. Just our energy is what we take, and whatever muck is left in our vibration, that comes across. So in other words, if you meet your Uncle Morty on the other side, and if your Uncle Morty, was kind of a schmuck in life, Uncle Morty is still a schmuck in heaven. So be careful who you channel. That's the moral of that story. So anyways, all right. So true on mirroring my nemesis. Yeah, right. So true. So, all right, you guys, hopefully this was helpful. Super, super interesting message. I love what's coming through these days. They are getting more, and I mean, if it's possible, more and more profound. And like I said, I do feel like there's some urgency to this one, and not urgency is like, not fear inspiring, but just a reminder to say, hey, this is precious time that we have here that we all can be using for our own better, greater good, and really the kind of good that lasts for eternity. So, all right, have a great weekend, you guys. Sending you much love and hugs to everybody, and I will see you next Friday live. Bye-bye.